For the Lord hath a sacrifice in Bozrah, giving all praises to Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi, bahasham, Racha, Kodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders, a great millstone that rule well, and labor in the word and doctrine. Shalom and peace, may that be unto the elect of the nation of Israel. Now I want to go into this a lot with a quick hit. So it's Isaiah 34 and verse 4. And this lines up with Revelation, the 6th chapter. And so we'll read Isaiah 34 and 4. It's all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll. If you ever look at maybe an older movie, when you see in fact, let me get a picture of it now. Right, so I wanted one that's going from top to bottom, always vertical. But anyway, so that's a good example. And that is what it looks like. If I'm able to bear with me. If we look at mushroom cloud, someone's got it there. Now see that bit, if you cut off this bottom bit, if I can zoom in, like that, that looks like a Torah scroll. You've got the top bit, which is thicker and wider and taller. I'm sorry, not taller. Everything else I said. And then you've got this, the larger bit in the middle, which is more narrow, longer. Right, that is the similitude. Now going back to this, that's what it will look like. Okay, what's that? That's a nuke. Right, that's an arrow. That's a bow. Scriptures that talk about bows, arrows, so on and so forth. Isaiah 34 and 4. And all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll. This word for scroll is sapar, which means book. Okay, it says book, missive, document, writing, book, missive, a letter of instruction, written order, commission, request, legal decree, legal document, certificate of divorce. Now these are all various writings we would have. So legal document, certificate of divorce, deed of purchase, indictment, sign, book, scroll, and that's what they would have. For example, now let me finish this actually. Book of prophecies, genealogical register, law book, book of poems, book of kings, books of the canon, scripture, record book of the Most High, book learning, writing, be able to read after verb to know. So that was the word sapar. Now going into Luke 4 and 14, said, and Yahawashi returned in the power of the Spirit into Galilee. Salaki, verse 16. And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, and as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and stood up for to read. Now what's he going to read? He's going to read a sapar, or saparium, books. Verse 17, and there was delivered unto him the book of the prophet Isaiah. And when he had opened the book, he found the place where it was written, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he hath anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He hath sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, and recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised, to preach the acceptable year of Yahawah. And he closed the book, and gave it again to the minister, and sat down, and the eyes of all them that were in the synagogue were fastened on him. Now let's have a look. This is NLT. The scroll of Isaiah, the prophet, was handed to him. He unrolled the scroll and found the place where it was written. Now if we go into the Greek, opened, the word is actually
Strong's G380, an obtuso. An
obtuso, to unroll. The books of the Hebrew were rolls fastened to one or two smooth rods and furnished with handles so that they could be rolled up and unrolled. Now what's the point of going through all that? To show, and he was quoting from Isaiah 61, which is where the gospel is outlined. Now in verse 5, he read up to I believe verse 4. Now verse 5 talks about how the strangers, the non-Israelites, will be servants of the Israelites. Now, is that scripture just abrogated? Is that put away for now? Is it never going to happen? No, he said, yeah, this scripture is fulfilled this day, and it is. So he was going through the scripture because they didn't believe. He went through the scripture and was saying, well, you're witnessing this prophecy happening. No, so they were very familiar with the books, yeah, being as scrolls. So if you were to use a similitude of a nuke of a mushroom cloud, and you'd never seen a mushroom cloud, you didn't know what a nuke was, and you're from and living in that time, the best analogy you would have would be this anaptuso, right? The unrolling of a scroll. Okay, that now the word in KJV is open. When you really go into it, it explains it. There's a there's a scroll rather. Biblion as well says a small book, a scroll, a written document, a sheet on which something has been written, a bill of divorcement. That's obviously where you get the term Bible, or in Spanish, a biblioteca, meaning a library. Isaiah 34 and 4 again. And all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their host shall fall down, as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a fallen fig from the fig tree. Now again, it was the host falling down as as a leaf falleth from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree. I mean, if something is up and it's coming down, and this is at the same point. You know, the heavens is departing as a scroll, as a Torah scroll, you know, or as a book of one of the prophets, etc. And so that cloud, or mushroom cloud, bear with me. Alright, and all the hosts shall fall down as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a fallen fig from the fig tree. Now we know what these things are. These are things that were up, yeah, that had gravitational potential, yeah, and they've fallen down. And now, as a result of that, and I'm repeating myself, but that sort of threw me off. I forgot what I said just now. So anyway, it said, now it's going to elaborate on what's happening here. Verse 5, for my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Now when something's bathed, you know, it's there for a long time. If you were to say, this ancient, you know, wheel has been bathed in the ocean for this long, means what, it's been there for a long time, or it's been you know, engulfed, it's been surrounded by it. This word for bathed is rawah. It says to be satiated or saturated, have or drink one's fill, to take one's fill, to be drunk, be intoxicated, to drench, right? So that's what to be bathed. Water abundantly, to saturate water, cause to drink. So this sword, you know, and we'll look in that word in a second, is going to be bathed in heaven. Right, so it's going to be engulfed, it's going to be saturated, it's going to have abundance of, you know, it's saying bathed is usually with water, but so it's going to have an abundance of the heavens. So meaning what, it's going to go out, it's going to go up, and then it's going to come down as, you know, a fig, and the result of that is what, that cloud. So let's look at the word sword now. The word is charab. It says sword, knife, tools for cutting stone. Now if you go on either side, charab here, to dry up, be waste, to be laid waste. To be waste, lay waste, make desolate, be in ruins. And if a nuke hits somewhere, what happens? It's laid waste, it's made desolate, it's now in ruins. It says to be waste, be desolate, to be made desolate, to lay waste, make desolate, to be laid waste, to be dry, be dried up, to be dried up, to be dried, to dry up, to be dried up, to attack, smite, to attack, smite down, slay, fight. Basically, the destroying. Okay. And now you go to the right. It's got charab, waste, desolate, dry. Charab, dryness, desolation, drought, heat. You know, and you know, they're well known for having a lot of heat. The missiles. Dryness, drought, parching, heat. Charab, it says horeb, desert. So the word horeb actually comes from this root as well. And then charabah, a place laid waste, ruin, waste, desolation. Yeah, so after something's been hit, yeah, of course, like it says there, again the same word charabah, dry land, dry ground. That's what you'd have. Charabah 1. drought, so on and so forth. So it means an instrument used for death and destruction. So what instrument used for death and destruction is gonna have a result of the heavens rolling as a scroll. Something that you can also compare to a leaf falling off from the vine or a fig tree, something falling down and hitting the earth, and as a result, something being made desolate and laid desolate. Okay. Verse 5, for my sword shall be bathed in heaven, behold it shall come down upon Idumea and upon the people of my curse to judgment. Now what's an Idumean? The Hebrew word there is, it says Adam, but really when you check the interlinear, oh sorry, oh no, yep, there, Adawam, okay, so it's a different word, but the term is, there, you can see it, upon the people of my curse to judgment. So this is a judgment and a curse that will come upon E, okay, and that's the whole point of it. The sword, the destruction bathed in heaven, so the nukes going up, out, into the atmosphere and coming back down and licking the earth, man. Right, verse 6, the sword, and let's check this word again, assume it will be kharab, yep. Same word, same vowel points and everything. The sword of Yahawah is filled with blood, it is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, with the fat of the kidneys of rams, for Yahawah hath a sacrifice in Bozrah, and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. So let's find out what is Bozrah, because we're aware, and bearing in mind, it says, with the blood, the fatness, the blood of lambs and goats, and that is the connotation of sacrifice. Now what reminded me of this is it's Pesach. It was the evening of the Pesach. Now it's the daylight, the Bekwa. So according to the law, whatever you didn't eat of the sacrifice, you then make a fire, you put it upon it. And a lot of the bits there for myself were fat. Well, it was fat. So when it was on the fire, it was sizzling. And it reminded me of these scriptures, man. It reminded me of the scripture, the idea of a sacrifice. The Lord having a sacrifice in Bozrah is a perfect thing to correlate now with the Pesach. Because what was the Pesach about? Well, the sacrifice, the death of the Egyptians. So the modern day Egyptians, as prophesied, would go into Egypt again by ships. Revelation 11 and 8, the great city which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt. These are the scriptures to be looking at. And you're seeing everything that's happening across the world, where the Lord had a sacrifice in Bozrah. So without further ado, I'll shut up. It says that Batazara. It says Bozrah, sheepfold or fortress. So what? Where all the sheepdom, where all the sheep are gathered, and the sheep is proverbial, in this sense, for a sacrifice. So this is where all the them that are going to be sacrificed are at. It says Bozrah, sheepfold or fortress, a town in Edom, a town in Moab. Then you click on the root. It says Batazara. It says enclosure, fold, sheepfold, Bozrah. And Batazar, it says gather, restrain, fence, fortify, make inaccessible, enclose, cut off. So this is the root word, for a sheepfold. It says fortified, cut off, made inaccessible, past participle. And this is talking, this isn't literal, when it talks about a sacrifice in Bozrah. There's not going to be a sacrifice in a sheepfold, or how about this, with anywhere with walls. Because in the scripture it's known as the land of unwalled villages, Because Trump's was trying to build a wall. Now in all these ancient cities you'd have, if you look at any of them documentaries, 70 AD for example, on this we would have a wall here, and then a wall here, and certain people were only allowed in certain areas and such. But we had to flee the first wall, then so on and so forth. But you'll see, it wasn't easy, and like it talks about, he that hath no rule over his spirit. But the point is in the ancient world. Ooh,
Yes, the first two are homage to Cleo and epistle to a godson.
Fucking ask that. That's a lucky. Right, the all these ancient cities had, didn't have walls. Sorry, they did have walls. Right now, this Babylon the Great, this proverbial Bozrah doesn't have walls. But what's in there? And they're all there, ready for the sacrifice. Because the only thing leaving Babylon the Great will be the elect, man. It says secrets, mysteries, inaccessible things. Mystery Babylon. It says to be withheld, to fortify. It doesn't mean mystery Babylon. Well, Bozrah does, but that definition there. It's just ironic. Nonetheless, the soul of Yahawah is filled with blood. It is made fat with fatness and with the blood of lambs and goats. And who are those lambs and goats? It says with the fat of the kidneys of rams for Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi, hath a sacrifice in Bozrah and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. Now, the land of Idumea, the border of wickedness, and wherever he dwells is the border of wickedness. That's the chief city. That great city. Because what is a citizen? You can have, I'm a citizen of the United States of America. It's just a large city. This word for slaughter here is tabach. Tabach says slaughter, slaughtering animal, slaughter of animals, slaughter figuratively. From this word here, tabach, to slaughter, slay, butcher, kill ruthlessly. To slaughter, butcher, to slay, kill ruthlessly. And when? Let's get Revelation 6. Revelation 6 and verse 12 says, and I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, who? It says, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs, when she is shaken of a mighty wind. So it's exactly the same thing that's written there, proving that this it all correlates. Verse 14, and the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And I'll pause it there. So all these things correlate with the shooting of fire upon that proverbial whore. Revelation 17 and 14. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. That's in the midst of World War III, the third woe. All these other kingdoms are going to stop, and 2 Esdras 13 goes into that. They're all going to stop, and the Lord Yahawah is going to put the Spirit on them to fight against the heavenly army, man, which correlates with Revelation 12 and 7. It talks about there was war in heaven. Revelation 12, 1 through 6 have happened, but 7, let me just fact check them. Those are the exact verses. Yep. Verse 7, when it said there was war in heaven, Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels. Now the dragon is not the spiritual demon Satan. It's the physical counterpart, the adversary. You can't say you're not an adversary if it's in your heart, it's in your spirit, to go to war with the armies of heaven, man. Right, so reading on, verse 15, and he saith unto me, those waters which thou sawest, where the horse sitteth, are people, and multitudes, and nations, and tongues, and everyone's with it. They say they stand with Ukraine. Now the whole fucking world does. Not the whole world, but a lot of them. A lot of them that are aligned and follow after the image of the beast, the icon. Where if you have the Internet Explorer, or Microsoft Edge, Google Chrome on your desktop, those are icons, where it's from the Greek word icon, which means an image. The likeness is what it is. The likeness, which goes into his doctrine, philosophy, ideology, philosophy, all those synonyms there, talking about the way he thinks. He has made everyone think like him. Okay. Verse 16, and the 10 horns, which represent the EU, and the 10 horns which are sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whole. So the EU is going to hate Babylon the Great, so-called United States, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Now eating her flesh is not literal, but it's proverbial. Now what does that remind you of? Because whenever we had a sacrifice, the priest would eat it. Okay, so the sacrifice in Bozrah, they're going to eat that flesh, man, proverbially. and burn her with fire. That's literal. Then obviously they're not just going to send like fire itself upon her, but they're gonna use nuclear missiles to then get that fire to where it needs to be. Alright, verse 17. For the Most High hath put it in their hearts to fulfill His will and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, right, unto the revival of the Roman Empire, until the words of the Most High shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest, right, so this whore that they were talking about, is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. Now what city, what place rules over the kings of the earth? Now, what place has the greatest influence? And it's dwindling. Yeah, but even that goes back to prophecy. We should probably do a video on that. Isaiah 47. She's no longer that virgin daughter. She's no longer called delicate, so on and so forth. So the Lord had a sacrifice in Bozrah, man. The Lord had a sacrifice in Bozrah. Giving all praises to Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi, bahasham, rucha, kodash, shalom.